Christina Barney watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and there's some big drama that dropped yesterday. I saw Steven Crowder was trending. I didn't know why, and then I just saw, I guess Jared, as a not gay Jared, had posted a video, and I just hadn't watched it until last night, and so he alleged some things, and then they responded today. I'm still kind of getting through all the details. I was watching Jared's video, not Gerald's, not Jared's video right before I came on. I was like running out of time, but I the right is has such dysfunction right now. A lot of voices that people trust, and I I guess I don't know if I want to call it a word of encouragement to all of you as I start off things today. Um, but it'll be what it'll be. So also I want to talk about Tammy Duckworth had the dumbest tweet, but people say it all the time. It was a, I guess it's not really an argument, more like a pro-choice proclamation, I guess, that I would like to just go through, and a couple other things. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different articles, videos, etc. on the website, different merch that we have there, that you guys can look at and purchase if you like it. If you like what I do here, you guys can donate at the website because it does cost to stream and run my website, all that stuff. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. For watching on YouTube, you guys can send super chats. I do read super chats as long as they're not like super vulgar or something like that. I'll read the super chats, but as long as they're just not kind of too out there. But you can also do super thanks if you're watching sometime later. Thank you to those of you in the comments and those of you who will watch things back later. FYI, just a reminder, I do have several books that I have written. You guys can go ahead and check that out. You can just search my name on Amazon, Christina L. Barr. That's the easiest way to find my stuff. So anyway, I want to start off talking about, like, I know I've talked about this drama with Candace Owens, the Daily Wire, and them splitting apart. And I do have an opinion on who I think was right in that matter. I think Candace Owens has had a lot of problematic, I just kind of hate how the word is incorporated so much in our lives now. Some very problematic, still, that's I guess what it is, segments and comments that she's made over a while. There were some, I don't know, segments that she had anyway, unrelated to the Israel stuff or Jews, that I'm like, ooh, this is messy. Or ooh, that were very tabloidy. Like I didn't one episode I talked about her going after Kim Kardashian for having a woman in a wheelchair in a commercial, and she did this whole thing about pandering and it's not for you, and it was literally underwear that, applied for people who had limited mobility. And then she kind of doubled down after that still, and I'm like, just take the L. Just, there's some things that wasn't a good look, but there's many things as far as things that made people uncomfortable in the anti-Semitism route. And I don't want to say what's in her heart, but she's definitely flirted with some stuff. And I have a long video that you can go through with all the stuff that happened up until November. Talked about the Kanye stuff, some of her Israel Gaza stuff, and her tweets with Ben and etc. But since that time, she did run a segment on an episode. She was talking about the origin of therapy, psychology, and stuff. And she was like, "What kind of books did the Jews, did the Nazis burn? Did you know they burned books that were you know, uh I guess kind of more naughty books, and they burned that stuff and was making it seem like that was all they burned. That's not what she said, but she's like, "Do you know?" She didn't mention that they burned other books. It kind of seemed like she was phrasing it as if them burning books wasn't really so bad because they were just going after some, you know, bad ideas when, they burned things like Hemingway and, and War and Peace and a bunch of other stuff. So there was that. There was the liking the comment about the somebody drinking the blood of Christians, and there's just a list of things on top of the, prime minister being a man. So I don't know exactly what was the nail in the coffin, that was like, okay, we can't have any more of this. I'm not surprised that it happened. And I don't know what they will say or she will say in their kind of fight with each other. Uh, Candace Owens had tweeted something about the live that I had watched, the space I had listened, well, not watch, but listened to the other night. And so she said, it was interesting because Nick Fuentes, she said, was fed to the ADL, and she felt that she was fed to the ADL before she was fired from the Daily Wire, let go, whatever. And I was just like, I don't think you were fed it. They had plenty of things to work with. No, fed is a strong term. So you could take accountability for the things that you say and just move on from there. And if your opinions are a little too spicy, it is what it is. It is what it is. But as a grand conspiracy to get you out of there, you kind of like, I don't know, put out the breadcrumbs of your own demise. Here's a snippet of what I was what I was referencing. And there's stuff after this.
Do you know which books the Nazis were burning? And I'm asking you this, and I'm telling you why it blew my mind, is because definitely something that we covered extensively, and you will cover extensively throughout the public education system, is the Holocaust, Nazi Germany. It's why so many people, when they're commenting, it seems like the only historical reference they have is, it's just like Hitler, they're literally Nazis. So that obsession with only referring to that historical aspect is partially because when you're in the public school system, you really focus on World War II and the Nazis. So I was shocked that I never learned throughout that schooling that the brown shirts, the student activists that went around burning a bunch of books, were burning books that they deemed to be Marxist and that they deemed to be overtly sexual. And one of the first and most notorious book burnings was the student-led destruction of the library at the Institute for Sexual Research. That library was founded by a man named Magnus Hirschfeld, and he was the guy who actually first coined the term transsexual.
So that's a snippet from her episode, and I did go and watch that segment. You guys can feel free to do the same, but I just don't understand why you would phrase it that particular way when, I mean, because it gives the impression like, oh, they just burned, basically they're moms of liberty, though moms of liberty haven't burned any books from my knowledge or whatever, but like, oh, they just want to get the bad stuff out of Germany. When, like, I mean, The Invisible Man, War and Peace, War of the Worlds, All Quiet on the Western Front, like those are other stuff that they got rid of. So why phrase it that way? Why try to, I don't know, put any kind of positive spin on, did you know the Nazis did this good thing here? Like, after all these conversations that people are having for you, again, it's like she laid the breadcrumbs to that whole sort of situation. But Daily Wire, it's not the only, kind of fraction thing that's happened. I guess it was about 2 years ago now, the whole blow up between Steven Crowder and Daily Wire. And that was a wild time. I was like, at the March for Life that weekend when it was all sort of blowing up. So everybody was like commentating on it, and I couldn't because I'm walking in the cold or whatever. It wasn't like extraordinarily cold, but and interviewing folks and so on. And I had a good time, but I was just like, I want to commentate on these things. And so by the time I did a video on it, and I did do it's about an hour video on the whole situation. It had a ton of commentary from all kinds of different people, Jeremy's videos, Steven's videos, all kinds of stuff, getting the perspective of everything. And I definitely said there was wrong on both sides on that situation. I was mostly on the side of Daily Wire, though, because some of the things with the Steven side didn't seem to be how they were blowing things up about the contract. Didn't seem to make a lot of sense. And then some things that I think it was like on when they were on Timcast and talked about, they were questioned about not gay Jared's NDA and stuff because they were upset about some of the parameters of the contract the Daily Wire wanted to set as of like a first kind of introductory, I don't know, offer or whatever. And I can't remember all the details about how much they went back and forth, but it just seemed like from what I had heard about how he treated his employees that there was like some big hypocrisy there. So that was an interesting time. And some people thought that Daily Wire should never said anything, but Jeremy Boring, when he did his rebuttal video, he talked about how people are going to speculate, so might as well kind of get in front of it and just own up to it. And he still was like, I think the offer was good. I think the offer was fine. And people on the left were just like, you guys are going to offer Steven Crowder how much money? And some people on the right who are more familiar with his numbers are like, yeah, Steven deserves a lot of money for how much he can pull in. So that was a big, blow up. But personally, I thought I thought it was odd to get Steven because his show's kind of wild sometimes. And I just think he just would not be good with the brand. And I had questions about Candace originally joining Daily Wire. I'm like, she's a little outrageous at times. I just didn't know how that'd be great for the brand. And ultimately, I suppose it worked for when it worked, but it obviously didn't turn out very well. So I don't know. They're kind of more like the button up stuffy folks. I'm not saying they're not funny. I'm not saying they don't do cool things, and but it just doesn't seem like they're people. They're like there's definitely a lot of crossover between the different folks that they watch. A lot of people who like Crowder do like Daily Wire, do like Candace Owens and stuff. So there's crossover appeal for different audiences. But even still, your brand is your brand. So that didn't work out, and this thing with Candace didn't work out either. So, but there was that drama that was in the air, and now there's this drama with Steven and Jared Monroe, who was not gay Jared on the show, who hasn't been able to speak out. Everyone's like, that has to be some kind of ironclad NDA. And so he released a video. It's like 15 minutes long, I think. So I won't play the whole thing. But he really can't say anything, but he is totally saying enough that I'm pretty sure he's breaking his NDA anyway. That there's some kind of intimidation going on. So I'm just gonna play a little bit, but if you guys want to see the whole thing, you guys can go to his timeline.
Enough is enough. This can't go on any longer, and as the famous saying goes, sunlight is the best disinfectant. So here we go. I'm currently being legally abused and intimidated into silence by a former employer. This has been going on for a while now, and it simply cannot live in darkness for another day. But I am asking for your help to fight back. First, some context. In late October of 2023, to my surprise, I was served these papers, a cease and desist from my former employer. It threatened severe legal action in the form of a lawsuit and demanded I cease communications with my friends. The scare tactics of cease and desist are generally to intimidate, isolate, and eventually devastate. Uh, like most cease and desist, it also demanded that I swiftly provide them written certificate of my compliance. I did not. In the same delivery, I was also served these papers, a Rule 202 petition from my former employer. You can look that up on the internet. I know I had to. These documents were filed with the county court of my former place of employment, demanding that I be subject to an oral deposition under oath for an unlimited amount of time, where they were free to interrogate me on pretty much any private matter that they chose. Also, in this petition for discovery, they demanded that I turn over documents of all communications with more than a dozen of my friends, an unlimited amount of unnamed persons in any form and over an unlimited period of time. I did not. Now, I did not for a few reasons. Number one, I have seen how this employer handles legal issues, and I knew that once I opened the door to legal abuse, it would never, ever be shut. This is how they operate. In fact, I'm not the only one who's a current victim. My former employer is exploiting the legal system to abuse others right now.
So he talks about like he's finally, going to speak up, and he launches a website. You can see freejaredmonroe.com, because he's trying to break out of his NDA, and he claims he has receipts. He doesn't show the receipts. Again, he's saying so much, I would assume he's doing enough to break the NDA anyway. And but he a lot of people were giving donations, but Daily Wire, not Daily Wire, Steven Crowder, they decided to respond to some of these allegations. And from their side of things, they said, yes, they did want the deposition, but the stuff that he was supposed to respond to already expired. And they wanted him to basically knock off the NDA, his kind of flirting with crossing over with the NDA. And that's what that was about. And they accuse him of being part of a campaign with Hillary, Stephen's ex-wife, which there's court documents where there is like collaboration of a plan to do basically a media campaign against Stephen for all the reasons I don't know. That's not clear, at least not to me right now. It seems like, because he did offer, according to text messages from her family, a good amount of money, but apparently they don't want him to have custody of the kids. There's a message from Jared to Hillary that he doesn't want Stephen to be around the kids. And after Steven Crowder, it wasn't Stephen, it was Gerald who had responded. They had showed some documents and stuff. He still like tweeted out that portion of the document and was like, I stand by this statement. Now, I don't know what they're alleging or alluding to why that is. That is really messy, especially if there's no there. But I don't know. The divorce stuff is so messy. I don't, it's clear that there was some kind of like super lid on Jared, and there's all this tension of like people who've left, Louderworth Crowder with former employees, and it makes people scratch their heads a bit. But divorce is so crazy. You don't know what kind of stuff people are saying and doing. So I have to, I don't, going through Gerald's video and how they're presenting stuff. I know how they presented stuff when they were going back and forth with Daily Wire. So not always like total honesty, but the court stuff is, you know, stuff the folks can actually look up. But I how some stuff is phrased, you just don't know exactly who to trust in these situations. But I think all this is sad. And I think all this is sad. Even like before this, all this stuff, there's a video that Lord and Southern put out some years ago. And it's a long video. I don't know if it's still up. It was about 3 hours, 4 hours. And she talked about when she was with Rebel Media and how she had to leave, what ended up to her, what, how she ended up leaving there. She asked the wrong questions, I guess, about a particular trip that they were promoting, and she wanted, I don't, she was questioning the details of this trip that they were promoting, and they didn't like it, and she got ousted over that. And she eventually met Milo Yiannopoulos, and there was some major drama between him, and it was, she just really laid out how a lot of folks on the right, or at least some of the dealings that she had, maybe weren't as they appeared to be, and how there's more topics that she handled with just kind of a, I don't know, more d- domineering opinion on things, that she realized that there was more nuance to over the years, and how she had to kind of mature and reflect a bit. I think she kind of feels more black pilled than anything nowadays. And I felt bad that she like went through all these kind of terrible experiences with everybody. So here's my advice to everybody listening. And I don't know when, at what point in life I kind of came to this conclusion. It's a pretty cynical conclusion, but don't have heroes. You know, when people say things, and you see them, whether it's entertainment, celebrities, or I don't know, a coach, or even relatives, or, you know, different commentators, remember that everyone is human. They can have good information, bias still seeps through, and people fail. And I'm concerned about people who put too much sort of hope in particular individuals, and then somehow, some way, they fall from grace, and then people are totally disillusioned with the world, disillusioned from the right, or whatever. There's people who leave, like, for example, religion. They'll leave religion because of how people treat them. And I'm like, well, is it the truth? Is God still good? Do you still, you know, think the evidence supports like the resurrection and all those sorts of things? But it's like, I'm leaving, and people will say, because there's no love like Christian hate, or something along those lines, and they'll talk about church hurt, or they'll talk about how this person talks about me, and the pastor corrected me, and it rebuked me in this way, and it scarred me for life. So they'll talk about personal things, and it'll drive them kind of away from the ideology. Or I'll see people who, there's this one guy on TikTok, he has a really big following, and he is a white guy who got really into like Candace Owens kind of content, I guess, and became like a hard right winger suddenly, and then all of a sudden became disillusioned. And so he'll always say like, I know how these people think because I was one of them. And I'm like, were you? Because there's people who will jump on a train or jump in a movement because of just kind of like, I don't know, popcorn, clickbait kind of issues, and not really get to the root of different ideology, or why people believe what they believe. So my advice to people is to, again, realize everybody is human, and appreciate different attributes that people have, different I don't know, accomplishments that people make. But at the end of the day, if someone kind of strays the path from the um the ideologies or values, you know, be like, okay, well, let me kind of part ways here, but it was good while it lasted. I don't, you know, it's kind of a weird thing to piece of advice, I guess, since I'm sitting here as an influencer, but I'm not. I don't plan to let you guys down. Don't get me wrong, but um, you know, I'm not trying to like give you a soft landing for something with me or anything like that. But I've just seen so many people become disillusioned, and I guess I've watched different people. I don't know if I've had like a hard attachment to anyone, like as far as a political figure, that I was like, oh my gosh, my heart's just kind of broken. But there have been people who've like thoroughly, um, I guess, disappointed me in ways. But it's like Apostle Paul said, like, follow me as I follow Christ. You just gotta follow people as they follow the ideology. And if something goes awry, it's like, okay, well, it was again good while it lasted, and just kind of move on. But just know that people are complex individuals, and there's a lot of faces out there in conservatism, and a lot of the big ones are, um, you know, infighting and have been wrong about some major things, and maybe some things about folks' characters have really put people off. Focus on the values, focus on the arguments, focus on, people trying to make better decisions about their lives that ultimately makes the country move in a positive direction. Maybe ultimately, my hope and my faith is in Christ. And that's where I'm rooted in. I appreciate different people who are on the same side fighting alongside me. I appreciate, you guys, and I assume you guys appreciate me. But it's about the mission. It's not really about the people, I think. And you could still promote and support people who are about pushing the mission. But if it gets to the point where you feel people are kind of compromising that, then I think that's the point when people, can't, we shouldn't have those, look to those people to be the face of that, I suppose. So yeah, don't I would just say don't get too attached to people who you don't know, I guess. Is my advice. And again, I don't know what kind of revelation I had at what point in life. I'm like, you know what? It just don't have heroes, then they can't disappoint you. But there's plenty of great people in my life to look up to, though. So I got great parents and other sort of spiritual figures and stuff that inspire and so on. But again, they're still people and they're flawed and they fail. So I'm just not into hero worship, you know. So that's my advice to folks. Don't put people on too high of a pedestal. So when this drama happens, you won't be devastated when it does. Uh I do want to go back to this comment someone said about the book burning with Candace. Um I did watch the segment, and it's fine for her to mention that the what kind of books the Nazis burn, but it's presented as if like that was their mission to burn those kinds of books, not also noting that they burned books that had nothing to do with Marxism and sexuality and stuff. And you know so that's the issue, especially with all sorts of different I don't know, evidence kind of stacking up in a particular direction. And I don't think I don't know. Candace Owens definitely has a history of people coming for her, of the ADL coming for her, of Jewish critics coming for her, particularly with the comment that she made about Hitler not being a nationalist. And people took that out of context. And she was, Ted Lieu tried to embarrass her in Congress. And I covered this in my video with her and the Ben saga to give that context of Why does she feel the way that she feels? Because she talks about it. She goes back to that moment of like, I'm not doing with this with the Jewish community again. Well, what is she talking about? She's talking about when they came for her. So she has experience with folks coming for her and for taking things out of context and so on. But that doesn't mean that, I don't know, she's not, it doesn't mean that she's forever right when she brings up these things. It doesn't mean that she doesn't have a perspective that's kind of skewed. And I don't know, maybe it's a clickbait. Maybe it's to be controversial. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's in her heart. I don't know what's in her heart. So I'm just not surprised Daily Wire let her go. Not in the least bit. On the front about the we talked yesterday about the Christ is King drama, and I did watch the theological kind of explanation from Andrew Clavin, because people were really um gunning for him after his comments, and I saw people take little snippets of him and say, "Oh, this is crazy that the Daily Wire saying Christ is King is anti-Semitic." And there's been a couple of pretty good videos about that from Ali Stuckley had a episode about that. Trent Horn had an episode about that, and in both those videos, they both show videos of Nick Fuentes and his folks. You know, in one thing he said he was going off about the Jews, and then he said, to sum it up, like, I love Hitler, and then the crowd like started cheering Christ is King. So there is a tie there. So I can I'm not saying people shouldn't say Christ is King. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. We should say, it's true. It's the truth. It's the truth. And if you don't believe that, you just don't believe that. But as far as I'm concerned, it's the truth. But if people are using it to amass some kind of power, to use it to bash different folks, as Allie Beth Stuckley put in her video, if you don't actually push the gospel and you're out here proclaiming Christ is King, one day you will wish he wasn't. One day you will wish he wasn't. So people need to I mean, I see it as, Trent Horn said people are taking the Lord's name in vain. People like Andrew Tate, who does not believe Christ is King, but hey, he likes the agitation, I suppose. And Sneeko, they like the agitation of it, I suppose. But people need to be careful because, as Allie said, Christ is King. You'll be accountable for your words. So anyway, Andrew Clavin, I'm gonna do probably a video on it, and I will show his what he said in his video, not his whole video. If you guys want to watch his whole segment, you got to go watch his whole episode, but the segment that people are freaking out about, and then his explanation of some of his theology. Just to sum it up, he was talking about how people want Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson to convert, and he said something along the lines of like, I'm not worried about them, I just believe that God would have them or something, or God put them in a particular place of influence right now. And to me, listening to him explain it, it sort of sounded like they're good guys in the end and they can go to heaven. So but I'm like, it doesn't quite sound like he's saying that, but it kind of sounds like he's saying that. And so in his clarification, that wasn't quite what he was saying. He believes that he thinks Jordan Peterson is really overthinking things. And he says he believes that Ben is more on the way than I guess people think. from conversations that he's had or conversation or whatever. I don't know. Um, maybe that's his wishful thinking or not. I don't know. I pray that's the case. I pray that's the case. And yeah, we should all pray that's the case. But he really kind of, when they kind of pushed him on stuff, he kind of really kept saying we shouldn't judge about who is going to hell and not, because at the end of the day, because he doesn't think that's within our power, which is not. And and I guess God will have the final say in what will happen as far as them being led to salvation or not. So I think that's what he meant. Well, that is kind of how he explained it. So I just want to add that little bit of context for anyone who saw the snippet of his ideology, because I saw like woke preacher clips shared it, and I do follow woke preacher clips. And so people were talking about that, and then people were talking about Andrew Klavan making the claim that Christ is King is anti-Semitic. But though Christ is King is what Andrew Klavan actually believes. But there are people using it in a not good manner. So I'll do a video about that more in detail later, but I just wanted to explain. I'm sorry today is kind of more like rambling, but just a lot of thoughts as things are going live, moving one, breaking update, one thing after another in this world that we're involved in. And it's messy. It's really messy, for sure. On a positive note, we're going to step away from this. CNN reached out back to me after I sent them my clarifications for the article. For those of you who don't know, they reached out to me about they're writing an article about Jesus, and it's for Easter, and it's supposed to be about his skin color, and I guess the debate around it or whatever. So they reached out to me because they wanted different takes on it. And the author of the article, John Blake, he found an article I wrote like 3 years ago on the color of Jesus' skin, which I did read to you guys, I think earlier. Maybe it was Friday. I read it to you guys. So he just sent me some clarifying questions, and I sent them in, and they were quite lengthy, so I don't know what I was going to make it in the article or not, but they really, really liked my take. They said it was excellent and full of, great nuance and stuff. So hopefully the article will be good. And like, I know you guys are worried and concerned, but I don't know. I feel like it'll be fine. So don't be worried. And if it's not, we'll laugh or seethe together. But I think it'll be good. At least good for me. I don't know what other kind of opinions will be in there. Who else will be quoting? And I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be like, she says that color doesn't matter, but she complains about white liberals. I don't think it'll be something like that. I think it's, I don't know, it's Easter, for crying out loud. I don't think it'd be too bad of a I don't think it's a hit piece or anything. But it should be out this weekend. So I know you guys were curious about that, so I just wanted to update you. Anyway, let's move on. I want to show you guys this video that I saw on TikTok today. And I was really tempted to save it for sometimes at my Bible study that's on Wednesdays. I will share videos with them and record the reactions to the people at Bible study and put them on TikTok. And a couple of them have gone viral. So I thought about doing it with this video, but I already have a video tonight that I would like to share. And I know some of my sisters have already seen it, but I don't think, probably the whole Bible study hasn't seen it. So I'm going to go with a different video. So I get to show you guys this video today. And hopefully my reaction by itself, talking to you guys, will be enough when I share this on TikTok. But there was a fan who was so mad at Anthony Mackie. And for those of you who don't know who Anthony Mackie is, he plays Falcon in, the Marvel stuff. And so he's now Captain America. He was in Real Steel for a hot second. He was in uh Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, but most people know him as, Falcon. So this is what happened when she met him.
Just met Anthony Mackie, and let me just say, rudest human being alive. So I live in New Orleans. I'm here for spring break. Apparently Anthony Mackie lives here too. I pulled up to a gas station. Here Anthony Mackie comes in this huge fucking truck, all blacked out, all fucking sleek, windows down. So it's like, also, if you don't want people to come up to you and fucking say how much they appreciate your work, why the fuck are all your windows down and you're blasting music, smoking a fucking cigar? So I park my car, getting ready to pump my gas. I see Anthony Mackie across the fucking lot. I gently walk up to him, being like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to bother. Because I know celebrities are on time. I know celebrities got shit to do. I understand that. So I walk up being very, very, very respectful, very, very, very open-minded, being like, hey, I'm so sorry to bother you. Tell me why Anthony Mackie did this. No. No. To my face. No. And then just went back to what he was doing, having me standing there. I was standing.
So I'm gonna let her finish, but it's pretty funny because sometimes, and I don't know how many times you guys have probably caught me doing that, if I've done it at all, but sometimes I just have this instinctive kind of thing with my hand, and my siblings are like, it's a shooing away. So I could just imagine when somebody someday like, Christina did this, shooing away. But no, well, I've already interrupted at this point. The blacked out windows. Okay, he likes his privacy. Just because you roll down windows doesn't mean that you can intrude upon the privacy. And she's taking the windows being down as a right for an invitation to invade on his privacy, when she just said he was smoking a cigar. Don't you think that maybe smoking the cigar might have been why the windows were rolled down? Maybe they just didn't want that smell in the car and they wanted it out. But it gets a little wackier.
Standing there in front of Anthony Mackie being like, oh, should I leave? Like, should I go? When I tell you, all I wanted to do was walk up to that man. First of all, thank you for his time, for even looking at me, and then saying how much I appreciated his work, and that was it. That was it. I just wanted to be like, hey, Anthony Mackie, like, it's so nice to meet you. Like, I'm so, like, your work is actually phenomenal. I'm so glad I got to meet you. Like, have an amazing day. That was it. That was it. That was all I wanted. But these fucking celebrities make it seem like we're fucking roaches and rats. Bitch, I'm pumping I'm at the same gas station as you, bitch. Baby, we on the same level playing field. I'm pumping the same gas you pumping right now. And you can't even look at me. Even if he was like, oh, like, hi, like, shush, like, you know, like, I'm on the low right now, but it's so nice to meet you. That would have been amazing. But I get a hand to the face, get fucking stranded, looking stupid. Anthony Mackie, the rudest celebrity. The rudest celebrity. You make celebrities look bad. You do. You make them look bad. You do.
So, she was getting roasted on TikTok. She really was. Because this is crazy. The craziest thing, one, I've heard far worse celebrity stories than no. You're coming up to someone's car. Someone just coming up to your car, and he's a dude, so maybe it's a little different, but it's a little nerve-wracking when somebody just starts coming up to your car. Even when you're at the gas station and maybe somebody needs to tell you something like, hey, you left your cap in or something like open or whatever. I don't know. But sometimes a stranger might come up to your window for a nice thing. I'll be at the edge of my seat looking like like who are you? And maybe I will roll down my window a sliver to hear what you got to say. Because people are crazy. You don't know. You don't just come up to people you don't know. And the whole idea about we're on the same level because we're in the gas station pumping gas. Okay, I guess everyone's on the same level that they need gas. Congratulations. But that doesn't mean y'all like on the same playing field of life, whatever that means. Like why make it like it's some kind of class issue that he won't talk to you? He just doesn't want to be bothered. How many non-celebrities just don't want to be bothered? He's bothered by people all the time, and I'm sure he's probably cool to a lot of people, but you see him he's got to get gas. Everybody's got to get gas, and he's enjoying his cigar. You could have just, I don't know, snapped the photo or something and let it be, instead of going on TikTok and making yourself look like a dang fool. Like you both pumping gas. One time when I worked at Micro Center, I was talking about the grades that I got in high school, and I was like, oh, I graduated number 9 in my class, and I got, I got all these A's, etc. I'm very happy and stuff. And they're just like, and yet you're here working with me or something. Like we both ended up in the same place. Humbled. Like you pumping gas with somebody is not you humbling somebody, because we all gotta pump gas. So that was strange. Those are the kind of people you find on TikTok all the time, with crazy stories like that. But yeah, she getting roasted in the comments. She's got a lot of views on her video. Maybe some of it is to garner attention in that kind of way, but it's definitely negative. So I don't know if she was. I don't know what her plan was. I don't know what her plan was with that. Not in the least bit. Absolutely not in the least bit. I have no idea. Anyway, Ronna McDaniel, by the way, was officially let go of NBC, and they had their bosses apologizing for how the staff felt and all kinds of nonsense. And we talked about this yesterday. Their different talent that they have on MSNBC and so on. I forgot that Simone Sanders was on I think it's MSNBC or NBC. She was a spokesperson for Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris, worked on the Biden campaign. But and she's a contributor, but she has a weekend show. Simone Sanders has, she's not totally bald, but she has like very, very, very short, like a buzzed head. And she's a black lady. Kind of thick. Well, not kind of thick. She's thick. If you don't know, you don't know. But I will never forget, after the 2016 election, I was watching CNN, because this is when I was still working at Michigan Republican Party, and we always had CNN on, because we didn't see the value in watching Fox News, because we're like, we know how Fox News thinks. We need to know what they're saying on MSNBC and CNN and stuff. So we'd watch CNN all the time. And they were talking about people who are being attacked and bullied on the right after the election. And so somebody from who was a Republican mentioned that there was some guy dragged out of his car, and some people were like stealing his car, and he was like being dragged by it for a little bit. And I think it was a group of black, I don't know if they were kids, but they were black, unfortunately. And he was like, this guy was beaten up, etc. And she's just like, oh, poor white people. And I was so taken aback by it, because I'm like, what does it matter that he's just a victim? Can't you, whatever idea of systemic racism and oppression and all that stuff that you have in your mind, can't we just acknowledge that there are people being attacked and it's wrong? It was so unhinged. And she's like, stop it. I'm like, no, it's bad that people are being attacked. It's bad that people are being attacked. So I'll never forget. She was wild. She was wild, really, really far on the left. And I was surprised. This is how I knew Joe Biden was going to be trash. And besides all the obvious red flags, but this was a big red flag to me, to know that Joe Biden was going to be trash when he put her on his team. Because I'm like, okay, if she's going to go work for Joe Biden, I know where this is going. He's not going to be some really middle of the road moderate who's going to lead us in some kind of, I don't know, middle of the road legacy where people can come together and heal the soul of the nation. I'm like, this woman is far left. She's not I guess she could be crazier, if that's any kind of solace to you. But it's pretty bad. So I just knew where he was going. And granted, I guess a lot of these young people from the left are cuckoo. And maybe they don't want everybody on the staff to be decrepit. But if you're going to have all these young progressives working for you, that the ideology is going to seep in, because they're the ones who are going to get stuff done. They're the ones who are going to make your schedule with world leaders and business folk and activists, and they're the ones who are going to arrange who comes to the White House for different parties and it gives you different interviews and etc. So I knew it was going to be a hot mess. Absolute hot mess. But anyway, those are the kinds of people who go on these different shows, who have different shows, but they just couldn't stomach Ronna McDaniel. And you cannot like her. You cannot like what she did. That's fine. I guess some of the criticism, I get it. If you want to say with the whole kind of elector stuff, those sorts of plots and plans or whatever, it was too close to home with her. I understand, I guess. But I can't pretend like y'all didn't push Russia collusion and all that stuff. So I'm going to go back into a big rant like I did yesterday. But I just wanted to let you guys know that it's official. And she was fired. And she was seeking some kind of legal repercussions or whatever. But whatever company that she was with to help arrange the deal apparently dropped her after the whole ordeal. So I don't think she's got anything. So I don't know what Ronna's going to do. I told you guys that she wanted to be governor. I don't know if she thinks that's still in her future. And if they're really, because I don't know, I guess I had speculated before, I wondered if Trump wanted her to step aside, and maybe he was like, well, when the time comes, I'll endorse you, whatever, for governor. I don't know if that relationship is still there. Because of the debate thing. And if that relationship is totally fractured now, considering that they've been peas in a pod and that she's really let him have the reins on a lot of things for a while, that just kind of goes to show you this that you can be deep in the Trump world, but something can push you off the edge and put you in the outs forever. So I don't know what's going to happen with her, but I do know that she wanted to be governor. That's really no secret in Michigan circles. But I never really thought that was possible. And I definitely don't think that's possible now. Maybe not impossible to win the primary, though, that the activists really don't want her. When we had our race for chair, so many people, there was a question for the different people running for chair asking, will you support Ronna as she ran for re-election as chair? And everybody was saying no. So as far as grassroots support, it's not there. So I don't know what's going to happen with Ronna at all. I'll let you know if I find out. I'll let you know if I find out. Another neat thing that I wanted to mention, we talked about how squatters, the laws are pretty crazy. Like in New York, I showed you guys a video, I think last week or the week before, of a woman who's trying to get a squatter out of her property. And they're like, no, you have to take us to court. But they're like, if you take them to court, it'll be like usually over 30 days or something. And it'll be in a world of trouble, as far as trying to get people out by then. And so the police got the people to leave, and then she had someone come and change the locks to her property. And then the police were called back again, and they arrested the homeowner for illegally evicting tenants. And they weren't tenants, they were squatters. So it was a pretty wild video. And then we also talked about how there's a viral TikTok of a illegal immigrant telling other illegals to go and squat in people's houses. Just squat there, and they have to go through a big legal process to try to kick you out, etc. So what happened in Florida? Because Ron DeSantis is a boss governor. They immediately signed something to make it so that the squatters are losing their rights there. He's just like, we're pumping the brakes on that. And, DeSantis can wield that power so effectively. Saw that there's a problem, immediately addressed it. Other red states should go ahead and do the same. That's obviously probably not going to happen in places like New York and so on. But hopefully with people raising the awareness, I know I'm not the only one who's talked about that case in in New York. It was going viral on Twitter anyway. By the time I saw it and decided to show it to you guys, people are talking about it on different other conservative shows. I've seen it on TikTok. So maybe will be enough outrage from the people to actually genuinely start making a difference with some of this stuff. I don't know, but I hope so. Last thing I want to talk about before I let you guys go. I think it's the last thing I want to talk about. We'll see how long I go over the subject. Tammy Duckworth tweeted, I think, one of the dumbest things you can tweet about abortion. And there's a lot of arguments that are really dumb. I don't know a lot that are actually really good, to be frank, and being supportive of pro-choice. I mean, there's better intellectual arguments, but you can always find pretty much a consistency with a lot of them. But there's some really compelling emotional ones that folks make. But Tammy Duckworth here went the old route of, if you don't support abortion, don't get one. And that's a U.S. freaking senator, Tammy Duckworth. So now, well, to go back on this thread a bit, you can imagine the sort of replies that people have. If you don't like murder, don't kill anyone. If you don't support rape, don't commit rape. If you don't support theft, don't steal anything, etc. If you don't like slavery, don't support slavery. And there's some people like, how dare you use a slavery one? You don't have to use a slavery one, because you're missing the point of the comparison, which we could go in and explain how those ideologies really overlap, because I think they do, and I've made that case, but I'm not gonna make it today. But it really is that simple. If you don't like a thing, don't do it. Okay, cool. If you don't like taxes, don't pay them. Is that how America's going to start working now? You don't, because I'm pretty sure if you don't pay the taxes, they're still going to come for you, and you might have your assets seized, or you might just end up in jail. You'll have the fines or whatever. You can't just say, I don't like it, therefore I'm not going to participate. That's not how it works. And you're a senator. You help the laws get passed. You do your part, and someone signs it, and not everyone always agrees. You do not have a belief system in the least bit that is, if you don't like it, don't do it. kids on TikTok saying that stuff is one thing. And I hear some dumb stuff on TikTok in these debates. But again, this is a US senator. And again, it's not really an argument. Maybe it's people treat it like it's an argument, I guess sometimes. It's just maybe more of a proclamation, maybe. But as an argument, it's not a good one. There's no sort of consistency there. You do not live by that ethic. And that's really the issue with a lot of explanations to be pro-choice, is that the logic doesn't always follow. It doesn't carry on to anyone outside of the of being a fetus. You know, like, oh, I'm gonna have an abortion because I can't afford the child right now. You cannot kill your kids because you cannot afford them. That does not fly. It's just in this particular circumstance, you allow these reasons to cross over because of size, location, you know, level of development, and all that stuff. You just wouldn't apply that logic other places. You wouldn't. So I'm not surprised. It's just worth pointing out. It's worth pointing out. I hear it all the time, though. Well, I hear it all the time. I see it in so many comments. Also, no uterus, no opinion. Women's bodies, obviously not a woman's bodies. Just things that people say that don't make a ton of sense. I guess that's all I really have to say about it. But those are your elected officials. Those are your elected officials. The last thing I do want to note, though, is in regard to this Steven Crowder divorce situation with his wife. Jared, I forgot to mention this. I had started mentioning it and then I kind of forgot. Kind of just flew away. He had mentioned in his video that Hillary was getting paid $25,000 a month from the estate. And so the estate, he said, is, like Steven Crowder or whatever. And he's like, she's the only one working, so do the math. So people have framed it as Steven Crowder is being forced to pay his legal opponent, like Tim Pool has put it that way. And and Tim Pool he's like, I'm biased. I don't like what Jared and them are doing. If there's this conspiracy coming against Steven to defame him, he's like, I've been in court, had legal stuff. You cannot set up a conspiracy to do PR damage on folks. And they're trying to take his kids away, to do all the stuff to try to take his kids away. So he's like firmly in the I'm biased, what Jared and them is doing is wrong. But the paying the $25,000 thing, people have resorted to I don't know, talking badly about why didn't she just get a job and other stuff like that, or because it's pretty clear that the money has been awarded. That's not even, I think, the full kind of thing that's going to happen forever as far as child support. But right now, as they're going through litigation, is, I guess, necessary for the different fees. And because he tried to get it reduced in the court had at that. But Steven's spending, from all I'm seeing, like $100,000 on lawyers. And so she's using that money for lawyers and other stuff like that. So this stuff can get really expensive, especially when you have like top dollar folks and there's a lot riding on everything. But people phrasing it in the way that they are is just so bizarre. And Pearl's just like, why didn't she get a job like the rest of us? And the sort of language that they're using validates feelings that I've seen and heard from women that reject being a traditional sort of wife and a stay-at-home wife, because if they are in a situation, and I'm not trying to take her side, and because there's his side, her side, and the truth, and I don't know what the truth is, um, but you get divorced or something, and and people are upset that she's getting this to pay for her lawyers from the estate, as if it's all just Stevens. And granted, he is louder with Crowder, that's what he built, but they didn't live in Texas, they lived in Michigan, I believe, and she left her job and moved with him and came down to Texas and helped to build his dream. So if a woman helps you to build the dream and make sacrifices or whatever, that's why people have the alimony, to sort of make up that difference from that lifestyle they had. Now I'm not saying the alimony laws are all together correct or whatever. I mean, Kanye has to pay a lot in child support or what. I don't know what all the breakdowns of their stuff is, but you get used to a particular lifestyle, they factor that in, and whoever makes more usually has to pay it, unless there's some kind of other agreements or whatever. I don't know all the divorce laws from each state, but Courtney, who used to work for Steven Crowder, made the point here that no one makes a better case for feminism than men. Tim's sentiment right here is why women should always have their own money and not be financially dependent on men ever. And Tim had said Crowder is rich. Let me go back a little bit, I guess. He said Crowder has to pay $25,000 in child support that his ex-wife uses to pay lawyers to go after him. He has to fund his own destruction. How bleeped is the U.S. divorce court? And of course, you had Pearl down there. It's like, I've been saying this forever. I've been trying to tell you guys. And Lauren said, yes, he's launched extraordinarily litigious lawsuits against her and her family that she cannot afford because she quit her job to be a stay-at-home mom. And they are suing her family, but it looks like the family is in on the campaign to do damage to PR against Steven. So this lawsuit against them is probably valid. I don't know. Some of the stuff they're put in group chats. You got to be careful what you put in group chats, guys. You couldn't have had a group in-person meeting. You put stuff in group chats. It's pretty bizarre. He is doing a campaign against her family, or what? Not a campaign, but is suing family members and other folks. So they are. It's a big legal bill. There's lots of things going on besides, I think, the divorce. And she said he also then went for full custody of the kids, but thankfully she was awarded some funds to prevent herself from becoming homeless and having her children taken. If you understood how much she's spending on lawyers, you know that she's spending every cent of that defending herself. Should I stay at home? Oh, sorry. Let me I gotta plug up this computer. I forgot to. Sorry. If you understood how much she's spending on lawyers, you know she's spending every cent on that defending herself. Should stay-at-home wives be able to have their children taken from them and left homeless if their husband is extremely wealthy, or should they be given a sliver of the money their husband is spending on lawyers to defend themselves? And so he said Crowder is rich, therefore he has to fund his legal opponent. And if Crowder was poor, the argument that because Steven has money, he is required to pay his legal opponent is too communist for me. Anytime you sue anyone, it's a war of cash. This isn't unique. And so that's when Courtney said, no one makes a better case for feminism than men. Tim's sentiment right here is why women should always have their own money and not be financially dependent on men ever. And she's got a point, and like there's a lot of sentiments here that are similar. And I'm like, she is his legal opponent because it is a divorce and stuff, but he is her wife. He is, she is his wife, soon to be ex-wife, mother of his children, and when you get married, you are in a partnership. And she's entitled to the estate, and he is the only one working, but he did uproot her life to follow this dream. And it's been a nice dream, at least from the outside looking in. I don't know what it's been like living there or working there, though people seem to have some interesting stories, or stories they can't say because they signed an NDA. So the commentary around all these things is pretty fascinating. So I guess that seems to be the thing, though. Like Calendar Gate, was the calendar really that fascinating, or was it actually the commentary and people's reactions that was fascinating? And that's why you talked about it, or I talked about it, wrote an article about it. But yeah, where else is she supposed to get the money? People are like, oh, she should get a job. She should get a job that's going to pay her enough for the lawyers to go up against Steven and all this. Now, I don't know. Again, I don't know what their end goal for really trying to get as much as they can out of Steven. Because from what I've seen, and I'll dig deeper into it and correct myself if I'm incorrect. But that they offered her a good amount of money, and her lawyers thought it was a good amount of money, but they still want to push. And I don't know if it's just because they don't want him around the kids, and I don't know if that's because of legitimate reasons, or if that's because she just wants them, or if it's to be petty. I don't know the answers to that. Jared implies that there's a legitimate reason to that. That's a big thing to jump to. So I'm not weighing in on whether I think that's true or not, because that's just it's a big allegation. But just gotta see how it plays out some more. But this attitude of being mad that she's getting money, I don't know how much money he's got, but it's a lot, I guess. But he's spending a lot. Her lawyers are obviously going to cost a lot, and to just whittle her down to just simply his legal opponent, as if there's not all this context and history there of her actually being his wife and mother of the children, is very interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please go to blacktnews.com, and you guys can go to the donate page. And you guys can also check out different merch that we have available at blacktnews.com, like this cool My Money, My Business shirt, which I guess we could maybe send. I don't want to send one to Tammy Duckworth, but I definitely made this thinking about abortion, but it can go for a lot of things. You can't just cut folks out and tell them it's none of their business, but then want their money to like pay for stuff. So also mugs and so on. So go ahead, check out the store, check out the website, and I will let you guys know when that article from CNN drops, and hopefully it's fair and nuanced. And they definitely couldn't put everything that I wrote in there because I wrote a lot. But I'm glad that he at least liked it. And I'll be a little surprised if it goes left, like ooh, got the hiccups all of a sudden, so I'm really about to go. But I think it'll be good. I think it'll be fine. I think we can rest easy, but if not, it'll make a fascinating reply video. God bless you guys.